The moment Xavier Quinn walked into the hospital that rainy Tuesday morning, soaked to the bone and holding his bleeding hand wrapped in a coffee-stained shirt, Willow Reed knew her shift was about to get interesting. "I might have done something stupid," he said through gritted teeth, his dark hair plastered to his forehead, water dripping onto the emergency room floor. Willow, a trauma nurse with 5 years under her belt, had seen worse. She guided him to an examination room with practiced efficiency, her ponytail swinging as she moved. "Let me see." When he unwrapped the makeshift bandage, she winced. The gash across his palm was deep. The result of what he explained was an ill-advised attempt to fix a vintage motorcycle in his garage without proper tools. "You need stitches. Several." "That's what I was afraid of," Xavier muttered, his jaw tight. Up close, Willow noticed things she normally tried not to notice about patients. The strong line of his jaw, the broad shoulders beneath his soaked button-down shirt, the way his green eyes held hers with an intensity that made her stomach flutter. She pushed the thoughts away. Professional. "Stay professional. Dr. Martinez will be in shortly," she said, beginning to clean the wound. Xavier inhaled sharply at the sting of antiseptic. "Sorry, I know it hurts." "It's fine," he said, and then, surprising her, "What's your name?" "Willow, like the tree." "Like the tree." She smiled despite herself. "And you're Xavier, according to your intake form, Xavier Quinn. Guilty." He watched her work with an expression she couldn't quite read. "You're good at this." "I should be. I do it every day." She glanced up. "So what made you decide to play mechanic at 7 in the morning?" "Couldn't sleep. Thought I'd be productive." He laughed, a self-deprecating sound. Clearly that backfired. Dr. Martinez arrived and took over, stitching the wound with neat, precise movements while Willow assisted. Throughout the procedure, she felt Xavier's eyes on her more than once. When they finished, she wrapped his hand in clean gauze and gave him care instructions. "Keep it dry, change the dressing twice a day, and come back in 10 days to have the stitches removed," she recited. "Any questions?" "Just one," Xavier said, standing. He towered over her 5'6" frame. "Would it be completely inappropriate to ask for your number?" Willow's heart did a strange little flip. She'd had patients ask before, and she always said no. Hospital policy and personal safety and all that. But something about the hopeful look in Xavier's eyes, the genuine warmth in his smile, made her hesitate. "Yes," she said finally. "It would be inappropriate." His face fell, but he nodded. "Fair enough, worth a shot, though." As he walked toward the exit, Willow felt an unexpected pang of regret. Then he turned back. What if I came back, not as a patient, just as a guy who wanted to bring coffee to a nurse who was nice to him when he was being an idiot? She bit her lip, fighting a smile. That would also be inappropriate. But less inappropriate, maybe marginally. Xavier grinned, and it transformed his whole face. "I'll take those odds." 3 days later, Willow was restocking supplies in the nurse's station when the receptionist called her name. "Someone left this for you." It was a coffee cup from the cafe down the street, still warm, with her name written on it in neat handwriting. Tucked beside it was a note on expensive-looking cardstock. "Thank you for fixing my hand, and for being kind about my stupidity." "XQ?" Her coworker, Denise, peered over her shoulder. "Who's XQ?" "A patient from earlier this week," Willow said, trying to sound casual even as warmth spread through her chest. "A patient who knows your coffee order." "I didn't tell him my coffee order." Denise raised her eyebrows. "So he guessed right. Vanilla latte with an extra shot." Willow stared at the cup. Lucky guess. Or had he paid more attention during their brief interaction than she realized? The next week, another coffee appeared. Then another. Always with short notes that made her laugh. "Hope your shift is going better than my motorcycle repair attempts." "Stitches are holding up great. Your handiwork, obviously. Is it stalking if I'm just leaving coffee, asking for a friend? By the time Xavier came in for his stitch removal, Willow had been thinking about him more than she wanted to admit. She'd Googled him one evening after work, curious. The results had shocked her. Xavier Quinn wasn't just some guy who fixed motorcycles in his garage. He was the Xavier Quinn, founder and CEO of Quinn Industrial Solutions, a manufacturing company that had revolutionized sustainable packaging. According to Forbes, he was worth somewhere north of $200 million. When he walked into the examination room wearing dark jeans and a gray Henley that hugged his frame, Willow tried to reconcile the man in front of her with the net worth she'd read about online. "Hey," he said, that same warm smile lighting his face. "Miss me? Your hand did," she replied, pulling on gloves. "How's it been healing?" "Perfectly. You're a miracle worker." He sat on the examination table, extending his hand. As she began removing the stitches with careful precision, he said, "So I've been leaving you coffee, I noticed. And you haven't told me to stop. The coffee is good." "Just the coffee," she looked up, meeting his eyes. They were closer than she'd planned, near enough that she could see gold flecks in the green. "What do you want me to say, Xavier?" "That you'll have dinner with me." Her hand stilled. "I don't date patients. I'm not your patient anymore, or I won't be in about 3 minutes." "You're a billionaire," he blinked. "You looked me up." "I was curious." She resumed working, focusing on the stitches to avoid his gaze. "And now I know you probably have assistants who picked up that coffee, and this is all just some rich guy's game." Xavier's voice went quiet, serious. "Is that what you think?" "I don't know what to think." "Willow, look at me." She did, reluctantly. "I picked up every single coffee myself. Went to that cafe every morning before work, waited in line like everyone else, and hoped like hell I was getting your order right. The first time was a guess based on what looked popular. The second time, I asked the barista what young women usually ordered. By the third time, she recognized me and asked if I was trying to impress someone." Despite herself, Willow felt her lips twitch. "What did you say?" "That, yes. I was trying to impress a woman who saved me from bleeding all over my vintage motorcycle, and could she please help me because I was in way over my head." The last stitch came free. Willow set down her tools and examined the healing wound. The scar would be thin, barely noticeable. "You did a good job keeping it clean. I followed your instructions to the letter." Xavier flexed his hand, testing the movement. So what?" "Dinner, tomorrow night. There's this little Italian place in the theater district that makes the best carbonara you'll ever taste. Very low-key, nothing fancy, just good food and conversation." Willow stood there, holding his medical file, her heart hammering. Every logical part of her brain said this was a bad idea. They came from different worlds. He probably had women falling at his feet. This would end badly. But the way he looked at her, nervous and hopeful and completely genuine, made all those logical arguments crumble. "Okay," she heard herself say. "Tomorrow night." The smile that broke across Xavier's face was worth every ounce of risk. The Italian place was exactly as advertised, a small, family-owned restaurant with checkered tablecloths and candles in wine bottles. Xavier was already there when Willow arrived, standing to greet her in dark slacks and a blue shirt that made his eyes even more striking. "You look beautiful," he said, and the way he said it, like he couldn't quite believe she was there, made her glad she'd spent an extra 20 minutes on her hair and makeup. "You clean up pretty well yourself." She slid into the booth across from him. "No motorcycle grease." "I've been banned from the garage by my assistant. Apparently, my injuring myself is bad for company insurance." They ordered wine and pasta, and conversation flowed easier than Willow had expected. Xavier asked about her work. genuinely interested in the details of her shifts, the challenges of emergency nursing, why she'd chosen that path. She found herself telling him about her younger brother's childhood accident, how the nurses had been so kind and capable that she'd known immediately what she wanted to do with her life. "What about you?" she asked, twirling carbonara on her fork. "How does someone end up building a manufacturing empire?" Xavier leaned back, considering. "I grew up working in my grandfather's factory. Small operation, made industrial packaging. I saw how much waste there was, how much ended up in landfills, and I thought there had to be a better way. Started tinkering with biodegradable materials in my college apartment, nearly got expelled for the smell." He grinned at the memory. "But I figured it out eventually. Got a loan, bought the factory when my grandfather retired, and built from there." Sounds simple when you say it like that. It wasn't. There were years when I thought I'd lose everything, times when I was eating ramen and sleeping in my office. His expression grew distant. Success didn't come overnight, no matter what Forbes says. Willow studied him across the candlelight. "Is that why you fix your own motorcycle?" "Stay connected to the work, maybe. Or maybe I just like the feeling of building something with my hands." He met her eyes. "Creating something real." Something in his tone made her pulse quicken. "And what are you trying to create now, honestly? A reason for you to say yes to a second date?" She laughed, warmth flooding through her. "Pretty confident there's going to be a second date. Hopeful. There's a difference." They shared tiramisu for dessert, their forks occasionally colliding as they both reached for the same bite. Xavier told her about his disastrous attempt to learn French last year, and she countered with the story of the time she'd accidentally dyed all her scrubs pink in the wash. The conversation ranged from serious to silly, and Willow couldn't remember the last time she'd felt so comfortable with someone new. When Xavier walked her to her car, the night air was crisp and clear. "Thank you for taking a chance on me," he said, hands in his pockets, looking almost boyish despite his 6'2" frame. "Thank you for all the coffee, and for not being a creep about the whole thing." "Low bar, but I'll take it." He hesitated. "Can I see you again, maybe this weekend?" Willow thought about her schedule, the double shift she had on Saturday. "Sunday, if you don't mind spending it with someone who'll probably be exhausted. I'll take you any way I can get you." The sincerity in his voice made her brave. She stepped closer, rising on her toes to press a quick kiss to his cheek. "Good night, Xavier." She was in her car, pulling away, when she saw him in the rearview mirror, touching his cheek with a goofy smile on his face. Sunday became a standing date, then Wednesdays too. Over the next 3 months, Willow discovered Xavier Quinn in layers. He was driven and ambitious in business, but surprisingly relaxed in person. He read mystery novels and watched cooking shows and had a collection of vintage concert posters that covered one wall of his loft apartment. He was close with his younger sister, called his mother every Sunday, and volunteered at a youth entrepreneurship program on the weekends. He was also thoughtful in ways that caught Willow off guard. He remembered she loved sunflowers and showed up with a bouquet after her particularly rough shift. He learned her schedule and never complained when she had to cancel plans because the ER was understaffed. When she mentioned wanting to see a Broadway show, tickets appeared not fancy box seats, but good orchestra seats, because he'd listened when she said she wanted to really see the actors' faces. What surprised Willow most was how normal it all felt. Yes, Xavier was wealthy, but he didn't flaunt it. They went to movies and walked through parks and tried new restaurants. He drove himself in a practical SUV rather than some flashy sports car. The closest he came to extravagance was his loft, and even that felt lived in and comfortable rather than ostentatious. By their 2-month anniversary, Willow realized she was falling for him. Hard. The realization hit her one evening when she was cooking dinner in his kitchen while he sat at the counter, recounting a disastrous board meeting. She'd made a joke, and his laugh, full and genuine and completely unguarded, had made her heart do somersaults. This was dangerous. She'd never felt like this before, never wanted someone so completely. It scared her. "You got quiet," Xavier said, coming around the counter to stand beside her. "What's wrong?" "Nothing." She forced a smile, focusing on the vegetables she was chopping. "Just thinking about how do I tell you I'm falling in love with you? Work stuff." He didn't look convinced, but he let it go, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind and pressing a kiss to her temple. The gesture was so natural, so easy, like they'd been doing this for years instead of months. That night, as they watched a movie on his couch, Willow's head on his shoulder, she felt the words building in her throat. 3 words that would change everything. But fear held her back. Xavier was brilliant and successful and could have anyone. What if this was just casual for him? What if she was more invested than he was? She'd been hurt before, had given her heart to someone who treated it carelessly. She couldn't survive that again, especially not with Xavier. What she felt for him was too big, too consuming. So she swallowed the words and settled for holding him tighter. Xavier had his own revelation around the same time, though Willow didn't know it. It happened during a business dinner with potential investors. He was making his pitch, all charm and confidence, when his phone buzzed. A text from Willow. "Crazy night at the ER. Think I'm going to be here past midnight. Rain, check on tomorrow." His chest had tightened with worry and disappointment in equal measure. He'd wanted to leave the dinner immediately, go to the hospital just to see her for 5 minutes. The intensity of the feeling had startled him. His sister Maya noticed. At 25, she was sharp and observant and worked as Quinn Industrial Solutions marketing director. After the dinner, she cornered him. "You're in love with her." Xavier had tried to deflect. "I don't know what you're talking about. Please. You checked your phone 6 times during dessert. You spent the entire cocktail hour looking like you'd rather be anywhere else. And you turned down an invitation to tour the Hendersons' yacht." She'd poked him in the chest. "You never turn down boats. You love boats." "I like Willow. A lot." "You love her. Have you told her?" The question had lodged itself in Xavier's mind, refusing to leave. Did he love Willow? He thought about her infectious laugh, the way she hummed while she cooked, how she could diffuse the tension from his stressful workday with just a hug. He thought about her compassion, her dedication to her patients, how she lit up when she talked about her family. Yes, he loved her. The realization was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. But when he tried to tell her over dinner during a walk, lying in bed together, the words caught in his throat. What if she didn't feel the same? What if he scared her off? They'd only been together 3 months. Maybe it was too soon. So he showed her instead. He brought her favorite tea when she was sick. He cleared his schedule to spend a full weekend with her when she had rare days off. He held her when she cried after losing a patient, not trying to fix it, just being there. But the words stayed locked inside, growing heavier with each passing day. The situation came to a head on a Friday night in late spring. They'd planned to attend a charity gala together, Xavier's first public event with Willow by his side. He'd been nervous about it all week, not about being seen with her, but about the scrutiny she'd face. The business world could be harsh, and the press even more so. Willow arrived at his loft to get ready, carrying a garment bag with her dress. "Fair warning," she said, hanging it up. "I've never been to anything like this. If I use the wrong fork or something, just kick me under the table." "You'll be perfect," Xavier assured her, though his own stomach was in knots. When she emerged from the bedroom an hour later, his breath caught. The navy blue gown fit her perfectly, elegant without being ostentatious. She'd swept her dark hair up, leaving a few tendrils framing her face. "Too much?" she asked, suddenly self-conscious. "You're stunning." He crossed to her, taking her hands. "Willow, before we go, I need to tell you something," she tensed. "That sounds ominous." "No, it's not," he took a breath. "This event, there's going to be press. Photos. People will probably look you up, find out who you are. I don't want you blindsided by that." "I figured as much." She squeezed his hands. "I can handle it, Xavier. I know you can. But my world, the business world, people can be judgmental, and I just want you to know that none of it matters, what anyone says or thinks. Hey." She reached up, touching his face. "I'm a trauma nurse. I've dealt with blood and screaming and people literally dying in front of me. I think I can handle some society gossip." He kissed her then, pouring everything he felt into it. When they broke apart, her cheeks were flushed. "What was that for?" "Because I love you. Because you're the bravest person I know. Because I can't imagine my life without you." "Just wanted to," he said instead, the words still locked behind his fear. The gala was held in a historic hotel ballroom, all crystal chandeliers and marble floors. Xavier kept Willow close, introducing her to colleagues and business partners. She charmed everyone she met with her genuine warmth and quick wit. Xavier felt pride swelling in his chest watching her laugh at his CFO's terrible jokes, ask thoughtful questions about investments, compliment the event organizer on the floral arrangements. Then Marcus Henderson approached. Marcus was old money, ran in Xavier's business circles, and had a reputation for being ruthless. "Xavier, good to see you." Marcus's eyes slid to Willow with undisguised interest. "And who's this lovely creature?" Xavier's jaw tightened at the tone. "This is Willow Reed." "Willow, Marcus Henderson." "Pleasure," Willow said politely, shaking his hand. "Reed," Marcus mused. "Any relation to the Connecticut Reeds?" "Probably not. My family's from Ohio." "Ah," Marcus's smile turned patronizing. "And what do you do, Willow?" "I'm a trauma nurse at Mount Sinai." "How noble." The word dripped with condescension. "Playing Florence Nightingale. That must be fulfilling." Xavier felt Willow stiffen beside him. Before he could intervene, she spoke, her voice pleasant but with an edge of steel. "It is, actually. I got to save a teenager's life last week after a car accident. Set 3 broken bones on Tuesday. Talked a man down from a panic attack yesterday." She tilted her head. "What do you do again, Marcus?" Marcus's face reddened. "I manage my family's investment portfolio." "Ah, how noble." Xavier had to bite back a laugh. Marcus muttered an excuse and retreated. As soon as he was out of earshot, Willow turned to Xavier. "Sorry, was that too much?" "That was perfect." He wrapped an arm around her waist, pulling her close. "Remind me never to get on your bad side," she grinned. "Too late. You already saw me at 7 a.m. pre-coffee." They danced later, swaying to the orchestra's rendition of old standards. Willow fit perfectly in Xavier's arms, her head resting against his chest. "Thank you for bringing me tonight," she murmured. "Even with Marcus Henderson and his ilk. Thank you for coming, for putting up with all of this." She pulled back to look at him. "Xavier, I'm not putting up with anything. I'm here because I want to be, because She stopped, something flickering across her face. "Because you what?" She shook her head. "Nothing. Just because I enjoy spending time with you." There was something in her eyes, something deep and vulnerable that made Xavier's heart race. He opened his mouth to push, to ask what she'd really been about to say, when someone interrupted asking for a photo. The moment passed, but it lingered in Xavier's mind for the rest of the night. 2 weeks later, everything fell apart. Xavier was in back-to-back meetings all day, his phone on silent. When he finally checked it during a late afternoon break, his stomach dropped. 15 missed calls from Willow, a string of increasingly urgent texts. The last one simply said, "Call me." "Please." He stepped out of the conference room, dialing immediately. Willow picked up on the first ring. "Finally," she said, and her voice was tight, angry. "Have you seen the news?" "What? No, I've been in meetings all day. What's going on?" "Check the business section of the Times. I'll wait." Dread pooling in his gut, Xavier pulled up the article on his phone. The headline made his blood run cold. Quinn Industrial Solutions CEO's new romance, love or leverage. The article was a hit piece, implying that Xavier's relationship with Willow was a calculated PR move to soften his corporate image. It quoted anonymous sources, suggesting he'd targeted a nurse specifically for the optics. Worst of all, it included photos from the gala and several from their private dates that had clearly been taken by paparazzi. "Willow," Xavier started, but she cut him off. "Did you know about this? About photographers following us?" "No." "I swear I had no idea, because I've had reporters calling the hospital all day. My supervisor had to get security involved. Do you know how humiliating that is? Having your personal life dissected at your workplace. I'm so sorry. I'll fix this. I'll release a statement, sue the paper. That's not the point." Her voice cracked. "Xavier, this article makes it sound like I'm some prop, like you picked me because I'd make you look good. That's insane. You know that's not true, do I?" The question was quiet, devastating. "How well do I really know you, Xavier? We've been together 4 months, and I just realized I've never even been to your office. You've kept me separate from that part of your life. Because I wanted to protect you from exactly this kind of thing, or because you were embarrassed." "What? No." Xavier ran a hand through his hair, frustration mounting. "Willow, that's not I kept you separate because my work life is complicated and stressful and full of people like Marcus Henderson. I wanted what we had to be real and normal and untouched by all that." Silence on the other end. "Then, I need some space. Don't do this. Let me come over, we can talk about this. I can't do this right now. I have a shift in 2 hours and I need to focus. I can't fall apart at work." "Willow, I'll call you in a few days. I just need time to think." She hung up. Xavier stood in the hallway, staring at his phone, feeling like his entire world had just collapsed. The next week was torture. Xavier threw himself into damage control, meeting with lawyers and PR specialists, issuing statements, threatening legal action against the photographer who'd invaded their privacy. He tracked down the source of the leak, a disgruntled former employee with an axe to grind, and ensured they'd face consequences. But none of it mattered if he'd lost Willow. She hadn't called, hadn't responded to his texts beyond a single message. Still need time. Maya found him in his office late one evening, staring blankly at paperwork he couldn't focus on. "You look terrible," she announced, setting down a bag of takeout. "When's the last time you ate?" "I don't know. This morning." "It's 10 p.m., Xavier." She unpacked containers of Thai food, shoving one toward him. "Eat, then talk." He picked at the noodles, appetite absent. "There's nothing to say. I screwed up. I should have been more careful, more protective of her privacy. Now she thinks I was using her." "Were you?" His head snapped up. "Of course not." "Then tell her that. Tell her how you really feel." "I tried. She won't talk to me." Maya sighed, sitting on the edge of his desk. "Xavier, you're my brother and I love you, but you're an idiot." "Thanks. Very helpful. You're dancing around the real issue. You're terrified that Willow will reject you, so you're letting this newspaper article be the thing that ends your relationship instead of fighting for her." Xavier's throat tightened. "What if I fight and she still doesn't want me? What if you don't fight and you lose her anyway? At least if you tell her the truth, all of it, you'll know you gave it everything." He knew Maya was right. Fear had been holding him back from the beginning, keeping those 3 crucial words locked inside. and now that fear might cost him the best thing that had ever happened to him. "I love her," he said quietly. "I'm completely in love with her, I know. Everyone knows except apparently Willow." Maya stood, squeezing his shoulder. "So go tell her. Grand gesture, little gesture, I don't care, just be honest." Xavier sat there after Maya left, his sister's words echoing in his mind. Then he pulled out his phone and started making calls. Willow was miserable. She'd told Xavier she needed space, needed time to think. But every day that passed felt wrong. She missed him constantly, his laugh, his arms around her, the way he listened when she talked about her day. The newspaper article had hurt. The invasion of privacy, the cruel implications, having her workplace dragged into it, all of it had been overwhelming. But in the quiet moments, Willow knew the article itself wasn't what scared her. It was how much she loved Xavier. How completely he'd become part of her life. The thought of losing him had sent her into a panic, and she'd pushed him away before he could leave first. Self-sabotage. Classic. "You're being stupid," her best friend Lauren announced over wine 4 days into Willow's self-imposed exile. "That man is crazy about you. You don't know that." "Yes, I do. I've seen the way he looks at you, like you hung the moon." Lauren refilled their glasses. "So some newspaper printed lies. That's not his fault. It's not just the article, it's everything it represents. His world is so different from mine. Maybe we're too different. That's fear talking. You're scared of how much you love him." Willow's eyes stung. "What if I tell him and he doesn't feel the same? What if you don't tell him and you lose him anyway?" The question haunted Willow through the rest of her shift. She'd been unfair to Xavier, letting her fear and hurt dictate her actions. He tried to protect her, and when that failed, he'd immediately tried to fix it. She'd been the one who ran. By the time she got home that night, Willow had made up her mind. Tomorrow. She'd call Xavier tomorrow and apologize, tell him how she really felt. But when she opened her apartment door, she froze. Her living room was filled with sunflowers. Dozens of them in vases on every surface, their bright yellow faces turning her small space into a garden. And sitting on her couch, looking nervous and hopeful and absolutely perfect, was Xavier. "Before you say anything," he said, standing, "I know you asked for space, but I couldn't let another day go by without telling you something. If you want me to leave after, I will. But please, just hear me out." Willow's heart was hammering. "How did you get in?" Lauren gave me her key. "She's Team Xavier, apparently." He took a tentative step closer. "Willow, that article was garbage. Every word was a lie designed to sell papers and tear people down. But you were right about one thing: I did keep you separate from my work life. Not because I was embarrassed, but because I was selfish. Selfish, my work is consuming. It takes up so much space, demands so much of me. And with you, I got to just be Xavier. Not the CEO, not the millionaire, just me. I wanted to keep that pure for as long as possible." His voice cracked slightly. "I should have been honest about that, should have told you why instead of just doing it." Willow's vision blurred with tears. "Xavier, I'm not done." He closed the distance between them, taking her hands. "I've been a coward. For months, I've been holding back the most important thing, too scared to say it. But I can't anymore. I love you, Willow. I'm completely, utterly, head over heels in love with you. You're the best part of my day every day. You make me laugh, you challenge me, you see me in a way no one else ever has. And I know I'm taking a risk telling you this, but I had to. Even if you don't feel the same, even if you can't forgive me, I needed you to know." Tears were streaming down Willow's face now. Xavier's expression crumbled. "Please don't cry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have ambushed you like this, you idiot," Willow said, half laughing, half sobbing. "I love you too." Xavier went completely still. "What? I love you. I've been in love with you for months. That's why the article scared me so much, not because of what it said, but because I realized how completely gone I am for you, and that terrified me." She gripped his hands tighter. "I'm sorry I ran. I'm sorry I didn't answer your calls. I was protecting myself, but all I did was hurt us both." For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Xavier was kissing her, deep and desperate and full of everything they'd both been holding back. Willow melted into him, her arms wrapping around his neck, months of unspoken feelings pouring into the kiss. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Xavier pressed his forehead to hers. "Say it again," he whispered. "I love you." "Again." "I love you, Xavier Quinn. Even though you bought out an entire flower shop, apparently." He laughed, the sound bright with relief and joy. "I wanted to make sure you understood how serious I am." Message received. She pulled back to look at him properly. His eyes were bright, his smile wide, and Willow felt her heart swell. "Though next time, maybe just use your words. Deal, as long as there is a next time, and a time after that. And about 1,000 more. Is that a promise?" "It's a guarantee." They stood there in her sunflower-filled apartment holding each other, and Willow felt the last of her fear dissolve. This was real. They were real. And whatever came next, they'd face it together. 6 months later, Willow woke up on a Saturday morning to the smell of coffee and pancakes. She padded into the kitchen of Xavier's loft, their loft now, since she'd officially moved in 2 months ago, to find him at the stove, flipping pancakes with impressive skill. "Morning," he said, turning to kiss her. "Sleep well, like the dead. What time did we get in last night? 2, maybe 3. They'd been at Maya's birthday party, a raucous affair that had lasted well into the night. Worth it, though. Your karaoke rendition of Total Eclipse of the Heart will live in my memory forever," Willow groaned. "I was very drunk. You were very adorable." Xavier plated the pancakes, setting them on the counter. "Eat up. We have plans today." We do. It's a surprise." An hour later, they were in Xavier's SUV, heading out of the city. Willow watched the buildings give way to trees, curious. "Are you kidnapping me?" "Yes. Very romantic kidnapping, though." They ended up at a sprawling property in upstate New York, all rolling hills and gorgeous views. Xavier parked in front of a charming farmhouse with a wraparound porch. "What is this place?" Willow asked as they got out. "It's for sale. I wanted to show it to you." Xavier took her hand, leading her toward the house. "I know we've talked about maybe getting a place outside the city eventually. Somewhere we could escape to on weekends." They toured the house, and Willow fell in love with every room. The bright kitchen with its farmhouse sink, the master bedroom with windows overlooking the hills, the study that would be perfect for Xavier's home office, the extra bedrooms that could be guest rooms, or maybe someday something more. "There's also a barn in the back," Xavier said as they stood on the porch, "which I was thinking could be converted into a proper workshop for motorcycles and other projects that might result in stitches." Willow laughed, leaning into his side. "It's perfect. But Xavier, this is a huge decision, I know, which is why I'm not making it without you." He turned to face her, taking both her hands. "Willow, this past year has been the best of my life. You've made me happier than I thought possible. And I know we're young and maybe it's fast, but I can't imagine my future without you in it." Her heart started racing. "Xavier, let me finish." He took a breath, and then, to her shock, he dropped to one knee. "Willow Reed, I love you more than I have words to express. You're my best friend, my partner, my home. Will you marry me?" He pulled out a ring, a simple, elegant diamond that caught the sunlight. Willow's hands flew to her mouth, tears already streaming. "Yes," she managed. "Yes, of course, yes." Xavier's face broke into the widest smile she'd ever seen. He slid the ring onto her finger, then stood, lifting her into his arms and spinning her around. When he set her down, he kissed her thoroughly, pouring everything into it. "I love you," he said against her lips. "I love you too," so much. They stood there on the porch of their maybe future home, wrapped in each other's arms, the afternoon sun warm on their skin. "So," Xavier said eventually, "should we buy the house?" Willow looked up at him, this man who'd walked into her ER with a bleeding hand and somehow become her entire world. "Absolutely, we should buy the house." "Yeah? Yeah, let's build our life here." The wedding took place a year later in early autumn. They'd bought the farmhouse and spent months fixing it up, turning it into their perfect retreat. The ceremony was held in the backyard, under a canopy of gold and red leaves, with 100 of their closest friends and family in attendance. Maya served as maid of honor, giving a speech that made everyone laugh and cry in equal measure. Lauren caught the bouquet. Xavier's mother couldn't stop smiling, and when the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Xavier kissed Willow like they were the only two people in the world. At the reception, they danced their first dance to the same song that had played at the gala where they'd first said "I love you," even though they hadn't realized it at the time. "Happy," Xavier murmured, holding her close, incredibly. Willow looked up at her husband, and felt joy bubble up in her chest. "Though I have to ask, when did you know that you loved me? Honestly, probably that first day in the ER. There was something about you, the way you cared for me, even though I was a stranger who'd done something stupid. I just knew you were special." He spun her gently. "When did you know?" "When you laughed in your kitchen, months into dating. It hit me all at once that I wanted to hear that laugh every day for the rest of my life." She smiled. "Scared me to death. Not anymore, though, not anymore. Now it just makes me excited for everything we're going to build together." 3 years later, Willow stood in the nursery of their farmhouse, rocking their daughter to sleep. Emma had Xavier's green eyes and dark hair, and at 3 months old, she'd already stolen both their hearts completely. Xavier appeared in the doorway, having just finished a video call with Tokyo. He'd been working from home more, delegating responsibilities, making sure he was present for these precious early months. "She down?" he whispered. Willow nodded, gently placing Emma in her crib. They stood there together, watching their daughter sleep, Xavier's arm around Willow's waist. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For saying yes that day at the hospital. For taking a chance on the idiot with the bleeding hand." Willow smiled, turning to kiss him softly. "Best decision I ever made." They tiptoed out of the nursery and downstairs to the living room, where the fireplace crackled warmly. Curled up on the couch together, Willow reflected on how much had changed since that rainy Tuesday morning 5 years ago. She'd left the ER eventually, transitioning to teaching nursing students, a change that gave her more regular hours and time with her family. Xavier had restructured his role at Quinn Industrial Solutions, bringing in a COO to handle day-to-day operations while he focused on innovation and strategy. They'd found a balance that worked, a life that made them both happy. "What are you thinking about?" Xavier asked, playing with her hair. "How grateful I am. For you, for Emma, for this life we've built." She nestled closer. "For all the coffee you brought me," he chuckled. "Worth every nervous morning waiting in line. I still can't believe you thought I might not feel the same way. I was so obviously in love with you." "Were you?" "Because I remember a certain someone who kept running away scared." She swatted his chest playfully. "You're one to talk. Months of loving me in secret because you were too afraid to say the words." "Fair point." He kissed the top of her head. "Good thing we both found our courage. The best thing." Outside, snow began to fall, blanketing their property in white. Inside, warm and safe and together, Xavier and Willow Quinn sat in comfortable silence, watching the fire, thinking about the future. There would be challenges ahead, there always were, but they'd face them as they faced everything now. As partners, as a team, as two people who'd found in each other something rare and precious and true. Emma made a soft sound through the baby monitor, and they both smiled. Their daughter, their home, their love, it was everything they'd never known they were looking for until they found it. Xavier had taken a chance asking for Willow's number that first day. Willow had taken a chance saying yes to dinner. And both of them had taken the biggest chance of all, admitting their love when fear told them to stay silent. But the best things in life, they'd learned, were always worth the risk. Years from now, they'd tell Emma the story of how they met. About the bleeding hand and the coffee and the months of hidden feelings. About learning to be brave enough to love openly, to risk heartbreak for the chance at happiness. And Emma, like any child listening to their parents' love story, would think it was the most natural thing in the world. Because to her, it always would be these two people who loved each other, who'd built a life together, who'd created a family filled with laughter and warmth and endless affection. That rainy Tuesday morning, neither Xavier nor Willow had known what was beginning. But looking back now, with years of love behind them and a lifetime ahead, they couldn't imagine it any other way. Sometimes, the best love stories start with a simple moment of courage. A decision to say yes, to take a risk, to be vulnerable. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, you find someone who's been loving you all along, just waiting for the right moment to say so. Xavier and Willow had found that in each other. And they spent every day grateful for the chance encounter that had changed everything, turning two separate lives into one beautiful, messy, perfect love story.